NutriCast.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrenta a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, and today we're talking with Desi Bolin. Desi is the founder and CEO of Virtually Sourced Solutions, LLC, an international virtual executive consultancy firm with pillars of freedom, strength, support, stability, and security. As a published author, course creator, and certification founder, she and the team truly put their over 60 specialties to highly efficient, highly effective use. They focus on relationship-based selling, networking, and collaboration, operating solely on word of mouth and referral. She lives to help others live in their genius without worrying about the details. Desi, I am thrilled to have you join me today, so welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to be here with you, Leslie.
Thank you. Well, before we get into today's topic, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your background. What initially inspired you to pursue a career in the consultancy space and found your company, Virtually Sourced Solutions, LLC?
It's a great question. For me, I was originally born and raised in Central California, and we moved about 8 years ago now to a very remote town of only 45 people. So that played a part in it. Another part of it is I have 10 years of corporate management experience as well. I've been in leadership positions since I was 17. And in my experience of the corporate space is my voice was not heard. It was not acknowledged. There was nothing implemented that I shared that could have been game changers if we were to do that. And then thirdly, I homeschool my children. So the ability to be flexible and really be here to provide for them at the same time that I'm providing for the family as a whole and feeding my soul, really, because it is my passion, my mission. I think those are the three things that have really contributed to doing what I do.
Yeah, well, I love that. And, we've had our conversation prior to coming on here, and I think it's really cool what you're doing. I feel, especially in the entrepreneurial space, it can be really, really super lonely because people feel for whatever reason, there's a mentality of the lone wolf mentality. You hear about like the Steve Jobs of the world or Warren Buffett's. Not necessarily that they do it alone, but people think like, oh, they're one person that made this thing for themselves, or even women in the world like the Oprah Winfrey's or the Gabby Bernsteins or the Alyssa Nobrigas, these types of women who are out there, you think, oh, well, did they do it alone? And it's not necessarily true. And having someone like yourself come in and really help the people who are creating their businesses, running their businesses, not feel like they are doing it alone, but having someone who has that passion to help build alongside them, which leads me into my first question for you. You're building and you're managing an international consultancy firm, and you have such a broad range of specialties, and that is no small feat. You have like 60 specialties to really master that space for people that you work with. So how do you approach balancing the demands of running your business while maintaining a sense of personal balance in your life?
Great question. And it does. It ebbs and flows. It's kind of a roller coaster. It really depends on the client's needs. Sometimes I get 10 clients who have massive needs in a week, and some weeks I have no clients that have needs. So I'm like, okay, it really is a roller coaster. And such is it kind of has to exist inside of the entrepreneurial world. Not just that it does, but it kind of has to. Because through that roller coaster, through that ebb and flow, you learn. And for me, work-life balance has been a massive, massive transformational process in that space, because there are many years after starting the company that I worked for 12 hours a day with no time to dedicate to anything else. Now I have time blocked my calendar to allow myself to work 6 hours a day and really be there for the family. I'm cooking more, I'm spending more time. We do game nights more often. And it really has made all the difference, because family is important. While money is important and serving your clients is important, family is really, really important to me. And I know that a lot of entrepreneurs in the space feel the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're also showing your children what this life could be for them if they so chose to go out and create their own lifestyle, like their own business, instead of going to work for someone else. They may want to have their own business, and helping them to see like this is how it looks when you're at home with your family. So, having your kids around you while you're working or homeschooling them and then setting aside time for you to work. You're showing your children this is what this lifestyle can look like. And I think that's really important, not to like say like, oh, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is I see you really as a strong woman being able to do this, because having children and homeschooling them and doing your business at the same time can, I would imagine, be challenging, just because with young children, they're going to need your support. They're going to need your attention. And it's like, how do you master that time for family, that time for your business, that time for yourself? And I love the fact that you were saying that you've now learned to block those times. It's so important. I think our calendar is either our friend or foe. And I think a lot of people, especially a lot of the women I've talked to, even one of my most recent clients, that the calendar has been more of the foe than the friend, because they haven't looked at it as, how do I actually manage the hours in my day, where my energy matches, and not feeling like I have to do everything alone, and then finding ways to outsource some of the things, and not, because it can be a really scary thing to say,
Right.
hey, I'm looking for someone to help me with this XYZ, whatever that is. But it's like, oh, it's like, this is my baby, and trying to give that away, right? So that's what
Right.
I want to talk to you about, because your firm emphasizes helping clients focus on their genius while
Right.
you handle the details. So can you share an example how this approach has made a meaningful impact for one of your clients?
Yes, absolutely. I had a client join with me at the end of last year, and what I have been focusing on is not just providing support, but also walking through and providing breakthrough in areas. Like, we did breakthroughs on her limiting beliefs. We did breakthroughs on delegation. We have done breakthroughs on creativity and stepping into that. And she has told me that have been so powerful and so clarifying for her. And really, we're stepping into a transformation era. The breakthrough is so needed. I myself have been on 2 years worth, 2 years straight worth of personal growth work. I've been to probably 8 events in the last 2 years, all surrounding personal growth. And I make sure that I surround myself with people who are constantly subjecting themselves to personal growth, because then I also get some of their distinctions and what they've learned from being around them. So I think it's so incredibly powerful. And I can say that my client that has gone through the breakthrough work, I see her on fire. I see her creating every day. I see her going live and showing up for her audience. And a lot of times before, she told me she would get stuck. And we want you in a space of not being stuck. That's really the beauty of living into your genius, is you get to do something that lights you up. And that's what my company is for me. That's what lights me up, is being able to love on, serve, and support people so they can focus on their genius. And I think
Yeah,
that's really
I love
powerful.
that. Yeah, I love that. And I love how you brought in the breakthrough moments, that you bring that to your clients, because in business, and I'm sure, like you said, you've been in self-development for a couple of years now, there is the mindset thing. It's no matter who you are, no matter, even if you're a billionaire today, you started somewhere where you might have had certain beliefs around certain things that you had to work through. You had your own breakthrough moments. Now today, we're really super lucky because, like you were saying, there is a transformational movement going on where people are really starting to want better for themselves. And so they're
Right.
seeking that out. But, looking at how you helped with her limiting beliefs, her delegation, her creativity, again, all of those things as an entrepreneur can be super scary, especially the delegating part, whether you're giving something to someone that you might not really know, especially in a business like yourself. Like I wouldn't know who your team members are, but to get to know you and then to be able to trust, being okay enough to trust you, like, hey, Desi, this is what I need. And not trying to micromanage the moments, but just being trusting. It can be really super scary when it's yours. And
Right.
so I really love the fact that you brought in that type of work into what you do, because that's going to help them feel more confident to say, hey, I need this type of person to do this type of work now. Because even though I can do it, I've learned how to do it, I've been doing it, I don't want to do it anymore because I want to free up some time and some space for myself. So I love that you do that. That's very cool.
Right. And
You know.
I think one thing that's very present for me right now is I was there.
Hmm.
I didn't want to delegate anything. There was 6 years where I did 95% of the client work. And we have 60 clients. You can imagine how much work that actually translates into. Hence the 12-hour days, 7 days a week. Now I have grown my team, and it's a team that I trust. It's people that have worked for me for a while now. And I have pillars for my internal team as well as my clients. And when I bring them on, I make sure that they are of the right mindset, that they will uphold the pillars that we have for our clients, that they understand the necessity for urgency and efficiency in the things that we do. And it's still a struggle. I'm a recovering people pleaser, right? And it really is challenging. I mean, I created a delegation course because really I'm in this space now where I'm becoming the mentor in this space instead of the person who's walking the path, because I'm on the other side of it. And I know how scary it can be when you're handing over things for your lifeblood and I mean, not everyone has a business that's their lifeblood. A lot of people have side hustles, and that's great. Yet a lot of the people that I work with, it's their life. It is what sustains them. So we like to make sure that those standards are upheld, because your business is just as important to us as it is to you. And we understand that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's really important, is having someone like yourself who this is. You have, like you were saying, you have your pillars. I love the fact that you have pillars, not just for your clients, but for your team members as well, so that you can give that care as a company, but also having the right mindset, the right type of personnel that works alongside you to support your clients. And that gives them the confidence to come to you with more things that they need help with so that, they can thrive in their businesses and you guys do what you do best, like in your superpowers, if you will. So I love that. And I know you empower others to thrive in their business and to also empower your team members to be the best that they can. It's very important to you to have the right people with you. I want to talk about you for a second. How do you personally, especially because your home, as I said, you talked about in the beginning, your mom who homeschools her children, you live in a small town environment, which I kind of like. I actually grew up in a big city, so I was very shocked when I was able to go down to, smallest town size was 10,000, but that was a big, drop, going from a big city like Toronto in Canada,
Right.
to millions of people to down to 10,000 and thriving in that environment. So, but I want to talk to you about you personally, like prioritizing time for yourself. What practices have you found to be most effective for you, self-care wise, in making sure that you are good, that you are whole, that you manage your stress well, and you maintain your energy?
Right. Another fantastic question. And I think I've got you beat on town size. We're at 45.
Okay.
45 people. Me and my family make up 1/8. But personally, self-care, it has become really, really present for me as being incredibly important. I would say in the last year is really when I started taking care of myself, and I have noticed a massive difference. And that's I kind of go about it in a different way. I have tried many different things. Meditation doesn't really work for me. For me, it's more coloring, it's reading, it's taking the time to watch a show that I've wanted to watch, right? It's allowing myself to be, and then also showering. Hot showers, really soothing for me. And that is because hot water is where I'm a water baby. I love water, and the heat is very relaxing to me. So I think that those are the biggest things for me is allowing myself time to read and color and take care of myself on that level. Incredibly important, but it's not just about allowing myself to do those things, it's scheduling time to do it. And last Christmas, I time blocked my calendar completely. So now I add an hour of personal prep time before I start diving into work. I have breaks throughout the day, and I have an hour and a half to 2 hours of personal time at the end. So I think it's really, really critical to do. And I see that now. I was always of the mindset, just go, 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 go. And eventually, as I have done, you will hit burnout. I have done burnout 3 different times. And a lot of that is because you're not allowing your brain a chance to rest and recover. You're not allowing your spirit to rest and recover. And you're not allowing yourself just to be. And I think that is really a powerful thing that you can do.
Yeah, I love that you shared your particular things that you do for yourself because for me, I always believe, and I will say this to anybody, that self care doesn't have to be, 6 or 7 things that people do in their morning routines. Those are great for people who have the time, the energy, the focus for that, and that enjoy those types of things. Like you were saying, meditating, journaling, doing all of the things, maybe writing about something else, maybe doing some exercise, all of the things. This is great. If you have the time, like I have a lot of time in the morning before I start work. So that's great. I can do the things that I want to do, but not everybody does. And it doesn't have to look the same every single day. And I think a lot of people get hung up on that. They get hung up on, oh, if I don't have all those things in, I'm not doing it right. And it's not true. I love the fact that you talked about that. And also scheduling in the time just for yourself is so important. I always say, put your self-care on your calendar first and let everything else fill in the blanks. And you don't have to fill in every piece of time. You can actually have white space open, even if it's not for designated for anything. It could become a moment where your kids say, "Hey, mom, I want to go to the park." And you're like, "Yeah, let's do it." It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to all be filled out. So I love the fact that you brought that up, because so many people get hung up thinking that there is an actual framework for self-care, and it's really not. It's just like what makes you feel good, what fills your spirit, what, makes your mind, your body, your soul feel good. And so that you can then get on with your day to have that quality of life. So I love that you brought that up. And I think it's so important, right? Like to make sure that you put yourself first, especially because, again, I'm going to bring it back to being a mom. You have kids who are watching you, and you're modeling the type of behavior that's going to be really super great for them when they get older and they go out on their own and they're like, "Hey, you know what? I learned from mom that take care of myself first thing in the morning." Having those power hours first thing in the morning where it's all about me before I start my day, right? I love the fact that you're doing that.
And I think another really important piece to business is, while I have my calendar time blocked, I am also very aware that I remain flexible in that time blocking. So if something comes up with the family, I'm able to move things and take care of that, and I'll just pick up where I left off. And I think that's so fun as an entrepreneur and a business owner to be able to control your life and your schedule that way.
100%. Definitely agree. So I want to go back to building trust, because you are in a entirely word of mouth and referrals based business, which I think is a unique approach in today's digital marketing world. So what strategies have you found most effective for you in building the trust and fostering strong relationships with your clients and your network?
I think for me, one thing that I do is I connect, like actually hop on a call and connect with as many people as possible. And relationships are so, so critical. I think for me, relationships are the number one. And I have become friends with every single one of my clients, oftentimes before they start working with us, because doing that, it allows me to get to know them and allows me to get to know what they're up to and what they have as a vision for themselves. Yet it also fosters long-term relationships. I have several clients who have been with me for 5+ years because I was able to connect and have continued to connect on a deeper level than most business to business relationships. And I think that is super critical. And I think really the key takeaway that I would give to you is just be yourself, be authentic. Don't worry about who's judging you or what is coming out of your mouth is wrong, because when you're authentic and you authentically show up and you stand in that power, you're going to attract the people who you were meant to attract. And I think that is incredibly important for people to understand. And a lot of times, it's this 30-second elevator pitch, 60-second elevator pitch. And I don't believe in that. I believe that I can just stand there and talk from my heart, and the people who are meant to come to me will come to me. And I think that's really, really powerful to step into, and a powerful shift for a lot of people in the space right now.
Yeah. Well, I love how you brought up the elevator pitch, because I know that can drive people crazy trying to come up with the perfect one. And then you have to memorize this perfect pitch. Whereas if you just talk about, like you were saying, talk from the heart, like, this is my business. This is who I serve. This is how I want to serve. This is reason behind it, my big why for doing it. I'm going to resonate with that. I don't necessarily think I'm going to resonate with an elevator pitch that's been rehearsed, right? Because it's not that you're not speaking from the heart, but I think it becomes more authentically you when it's taken out of the equation and you just allow yourself to speak freely, right? So I love that. I want to talk a little bit about navigating challenges as a business owner, because I know obviously you run a global business, a global consultancy, and I'm sure that it has its own set of challenges. When it comes to business, whether it's for your own or even the people that you work with, what have you seen as being one of the biggest obstacles, whether you face as a business owner and how you overcame it, or how you helped somebody else face one of their biggest obstacles and overcome it?
Oh, there are definitely a few. And I think one of the largest challenges is time zones and getting yourself really present too. This client is in this time zone. My team member over here is in this time zone. And I have kind of implemented a process for adding time zones to my world clock on my calendar. So when I am talking to a specific person, I can just look at my calendar and see what time it currently is for them. Or if I'm scheduling a meeting, and that eliminates a lot of the back and forth around scheduling meetings, especially when you're doing it with multiple different people as a joint call. I think that's definitely a challenge that can be overcome for sure. And it's a challenge that's present, especially as you branch out and continue to grow globally. Even in the US, there's 4 different time zones, right? In the main states. And I think developing that process for yourself and what it looks like for you is really important, because my process and my system may not work for everybody, right? But it is important to look at for yourself what could work in terms of that. Another challenge that I have seen come up is the culture differences, specifically with our overseas partners and what that looks like for them. And I think that what we have done to overcome that is we set expectations. We have a conversation with them before they even onboard, making sure they're in alignment with what we're looking for and that they can withhold those expectations. And that way, if there's a culture piece that gets in the way and there's a breakdown in communication around that, then we can then speak to that. And I think that has been a game changer, especially as my team has grown from 3 to 15 in the last 3 months. That's definitely something we've had to put in place.
Wow, that's a huge growth jump, you know?
Yeah.
That is really, and I love the fact that you're able to do this, and especially because you have this model in place. One of the things I did want to ask you from your perspective, just going back to the taking, growing your business, maintaining personal well-being, not for yourself, but you talked about having those breakthrough sessions with your clients. What advice from your perspective, someone who's not maybe in your world right now, but is listening today, what would you say to someone who maybe is trying to juggle growing their business? Because again, you just mentioned that you are growing, you've grown, and that's quite a jump and incredible, I have to say. So if someone's trying to juggle growing their business, but also maintaining personal well-being, what advice would you give them? Because it looks like you've really created something special going from 12 hours to 6 hours. I mean, you cut the time in half. So I'm sure you found a way that really, truly works.
Right. I think the biggest thing that I could share and the biggest takeaway around that personal care balance and running a business in a growth period, that would be just allow yourself to do it. A lot of times in my experience, there are blocks that are preventing you. It's referred to as homeostasis. And your homeostasis is adverse to change. When you adapt your mindset, anything is possible. And my 6 hours will eventually turn into 3 hours a day, right? And that's the point of growing a team and training them up to be 80% of where you are And that's a key distinction as well. You don't have to find someone who can do it just like you, be that 100% of you, essentially a clone. Find someone who you can train up to be 80% of you. And that is a big shift for a lot of people I talk to, because a lot of times people are looking for exact duplicates of themselves. And that is, it's impossible. Everybody is their own person. And there are things that you have to train up on.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really a key distinction to providing a balance for yourself. And one last thing that I will share, and it's one of the things that I live by, is say yes and take a step. So if the question in your space right now is, can I create this balance? Say yes, take a step. And that step may be small, and that's okay. Small steps will still lead to a big goal. And I think that is incredibly, incredibly powerful for business owners to understand. Whether you're new or you've been in this space for a long time, it's all the same. When you adjust the mindset and you say yes and you take small steps towards big actions, you will get there.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. Well, let's just talk about looking ahead for you and your team as you're continuing to grow. Again, you've really just taken leaps and bounds, even just recently. And as you're growing your team, as you are growing your client base, and you are continually empowering other people through your work, what is next on the horizon for you and your team? And are there anything exciting that's coming up? Any projects, any
So much.
goals? Yeah, I'd love to know. If you're willing to share, we'd love to know.
Absolutely. Well, there is so much. I am a speaker as well. So recently I have been speaking more. I have a summit that I'm on next week. I did 3 more applications to speak this morning. And I think sharing my mission, and this is a distinction that I love for business owners. You are here for a reason. Your mission and your vision is meant to be shared. You never know who is waiting for you to help them along their journey. And so I'm speaking, and I'm currently in the process of writing 3 different books. I have a summit planned for June of this year, and that is going to be incredible. And I am also working on launching my podcast.
Wow. Amazing. This is incredible. I love it. That is amazing. Well, congratulations to all of the new, and yeah, keep getting your message out there, because I think what you do is really an important work, and people need to know. They need to know you. They need to have you in their world. So thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing your journey as the founder and CEO of Virtually Sourced Solutions, LLC. I really love learning about how you built an international consultancy that empowers others to thrive by focusing on their genius while your team manages the details. Because again, you get into business, you want to change the world. And there's all of the behind the scenes that can be really disruptive. And when you can have a powerful team around you that can help you, that's important. I mean, you think about it just as an example. Henry Ford, we know, obviously, the car, but he wasn't always the smartest guy in the room. But what he was good about him is that he knew to surround himself with the smartest people in the areas that he wasn't the smartest person in the room. And so I love that. That always has resonated with me. And I've always thought about that whenever I get into spaces with incredible women and women like yourself that are doing amazing things. So I'm so excited that you've been on the show today. And I just want to say thank you so much.
It was absolutely my pleasure. And last thing, I definitely resonate with that. And I would recommend getting coaches. I have, I think, 7 coaches right now in all different areas, right? But find the people that can love on, serve, and support you in the way that you need. It's so powerful.
Absolutely.
It was my
Yeah,
pleasure to be with you today, Leslie.
Oh, thank you. That's absolute words of wisdom. So, yes, thank you so much. And to our listeners, if you would like to connect with Desi directly and learn more about Virtually Sourced Solutions LLC or explore her courses, what she's got coming up. You want to connect with her because she's got her books coming up. Her podcast is going to be launching, as she was saying. She's got her summit coming up, and she's speaking more. If you want to connect with her, make sure that you look in the show notes for all of her links so that you can directly connect. Remember, creating harmony between work and life doesn't happen overnight, but every small step you take towards prioritizing your well-being and your goals can make the biggest difference. So embrace each step with confidence, knowing that you are shaping the extraordinary life that's waiting for you. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Why is it that games make us feel so good or completely rage quit? These emotions we feel are mostly not an accident. People like me designed them. I'm Chris Cross, and this is Brain Arcade, a podcast all about the psychology of game design and why games hit us so hard. Each week, I bring on a new guest, designers, psychologists, storytellers, to break it all down with me. If you play, design, or just love games, follow now.
Electricast.